The divination chain broke. Not cracked, not loosened, but completely snapped in two when the Babalawo whispered your name during the morning consultation. The beads scattered across the sacred mat like startled birds fleeing an unseen predator, and for the first time in 43 years of practice, he stepped back from his altar in genuine shock. You need to understand what this means, because right now, as you're listening to these words, the spiritual realm is in absolute chaos over you. The old priest's hands are still trembling 3 days later. He's consulted with 7 other Babalawos across different continents, and they all see the same thing when they cast for you. The shells refuse to land normally, the palm nuts spin in impossible directions, the sacred dust forms patterns that shouldn't exist according to ancient texts written before your bloodline was even conceived. Something massive is shifting in the invisible world, and you're at the center of it all. You've been feeling it too, haven't you? That electric sensation running through your spine at random moments? That pressure in your chest that feels like the universe is trying to download something directly into your consciousness? Those dreams where you're standing in places you've never been, but somehow remember. The way certain objects in your house have been moving slightly when you're not looking. The way animals stare at you longer than they should. These aren't coincidences or tricks of your imagination. When the Babalawo's Opale chain snapped, it wasn't because of weakness or age. That chain had been passed down through 17 generations of his family. It had survived wars, floods, and fires. It had been used to divine for presidents, revolutionaries, and people whose names history will never record, but whose impact shifted entire timeline. That chain broke because your energy signature is so powerful right now that the traditional tools of divination literally cannot contain or measure what's happening around you. The shells scattered in a pattern that spelled out something in an ancient script that predates written history. The Babalawo had to consult texts that haven't been opened in centuries, books wrapped in leather from animals that no longer exist, written in languages that predate Yoruba, Sanskrit, and Sumerian. What he found made him close his shrine for 3 days and undergo a cleansing ritual reserved for priests who have glimpsed something beyond human comprehension. Your name, or rather the spiritual signature attached to your essence, appears in prophecies that were considered myth even by those who study myths. Think about what you've been experiencing lately. The synchronicities that are becoming too frequent to ignore. The way you'll think of something and it manifests within hours or days. The way people you haven't heard from in years suddenly reach out at the exact moment you need them. The way opportunities are appearing that seem specifically designed for skills you didn't even know you had until recently. The way certain songs play at the exact moment you need to hear their message. These aren't random events scattered through your life like dice thrown by a careless hand. Every single one of these occurrences is part of a massive spiritual recalibration that's happening because of who you're becoming. The Babalawo saw it in the broken chain, in the way the beads fell, in the patterns they made on the ground. You're not just going through a spiritual awakening. You're experiencing what the ancient texts call a dimensional shift, where your consciousness is expanding beyond the limitations that have kept humanity trapped in repetitive cycles for millennia. This is why everything feels different now. Why the old ways don't work anymore. Why relationships that once sustained you now feel hollow. Your ancestors are in an uproar. Not the recent ones you might remember or have photos of, but the ancient ones. The ones whose names have been forgotten by history, but whose power runs through your bloodstream like liquid lightning. They've been waiting for someone in your lineage to reach this exact point of spiritual evolution. Generation after generation passed with close calls, near misses, almost, but not quite moments where someone in your family line came close to breaking through but couldn't quite pierce the veil. The Babalawo saw them gathering when he tried to divine your path. Hundreds, thousands of spiritual presences, all focused on you with an intensity that made the candles in his shrine burn blue and white instead of their normal orange. They're not just watching, They're actively clearing paths, removing obstacles and fighting battles in realms you can't see yet but definitely feel. That exhaustion you've been experiencing that sleep doesn't cure? That's because your spirit is participating in these battles while your conscious mind rests. You wake up tired because you've been working in dimensions where different laws of physics apply. Some of your ancestors are teaching you in your dreams. You might not remember the lessons when you wake up, but your behavior is changing, isn't it? You're making different decisions. You're seeing through people's masks more easily. You're understanding complex situations with a clarity that surprises even you. Words come out of your mouth that sound like you but carry a wisdom you didn't know you possessed. Your hands know how to do things they've never been taught. Your body moves away from danger before your mind recognizes the threat. This ancestral uprising isn't happening for everyone. The Babalawo has divined for thousands of people, and he's only seen this phenomenon 3 times in his entire career. The last time was 27 years ago. And that person went on to discover something that changed the course of modern medicine, though their name was carefully erased from the records by those who wanted to claim the credit. The time before that was in his grandfather's era, and that person's actions prevented a war that would have killed millions, though history books will never mention their intervention. When the opal chain snapped and the beads scattered, 3 of them landed in a perfect triangle around a single cowrie shell that had jumped from a completely different divination set across the room. This is supposed to be impossible. These objects don't move on their own. They don't form geometric patterns, and they certainly don't communicate across different divination systems. But your energy is causing what the Babalawo calls a sacred disruption, a breaking of the normal rules that govern spiritual practice. You've probably noticed this disruption in your own life. Technology acts strange around you. Your phone does things it shouldn't be able to do. Computers freeze or accelerate when you're emotional. Lights flicker when you enter certain rooms. Electronic devices pick up frequencies they're not designed to receive. You might have dismissed these as coincidences or faulty equipment. But the Babalawo's broken chain confirms what you've suspected deep down. You're becoming something that doesn't fit into the current paradigm of existence. The sacred disruption extends beyond technology. Nature responds to you differently now. Birds land closer to you than they should. Cats appear wherever you go. Dogs become calm in your presence, even if they're usually aggressive. Plants grow better in your home, even if you forget to water them. The wind seems to blow in helpful directions when you need it. Rain holds off until you're safely inside. The sun breaks through clouds at moments when you need its warmth. These aren't fantasies or wishful thinking. The natural world recognizes something in you that most humans have forgotten exists. People feel it too, even if they can't articulate what they're experiencing. Some are drawn to you with an intensity that makes no logical sense. Others feel threatened by you without understanding why. Children stare at you in public places. Elderly people want to tell you their secrets. Strangers confide in you within minutes of meeting. You've become a walking catalyst for other people's spiritual awakening, whether you intended to or not. Your mere presence triggers something in others that forces them to confront truths they've been avoiding. The Babalawo spent 3 nights studying the pattern created by the broken chain and scattered divination tools. What he found defied 4,000 years of recorded divination knowledge. The beads had formed a map, but not of any geographical location on Earth. It was a map of probable futures, and all of them led to a singular point of convergence centered on you, not your physical location, but your spiritual coordinates in the vast web of existence. According to the pattern, you're currently standing at what the ancient texts call a reality junction. It's a place where multiple timelines intersect, where the choices you make don't just affect your future, but retroactively change your past and simultaneously impact parallel versions of yourself in other dimensions. The Babalawo had only read about such things in texts that most priests consider metaphorical rather than literal, but the broken chain made it clear that in your case the metaphorical has become actual. You might have noticed reality becoming more fluid around you. Memories that shift slightly. Photos that seem different from how you remember them. People swearing conversations happened that you don't recall, or denying conversations you clearly remember. Places that feel familiar even though you've never been there before. Skills that come too easily, as if you've practiced them in another life. These aren't signs of confusion or memory problems. These are symptoms of existing at a reality junction where multiple timelines are bleeding through into your conscious experience. The pattern also revealed something that made the Babalawo pour libations for 7 hours straight. Your spiritual signature doesn't match any of the known categories that have been used to classify human souls for millennia. You're not what the traditions call an old soul, or a new soul, or a wandering soul, or any of the 100 other classifications that priests and shamans use to understand human spiritual nature. You're something else entirely, something that the pattern could only represent as a symbol that hurt to look at directly. A geometry that shouldn't be possible in three-dimensional space. Every human being vibrates at a certain frequency. This isn't metaphorical, it's measurable by sensitive enough equipment. Most people vibrate within a predictable range that corresponds to their emotional state, health, and spiritual development. But when the Babalawo attempted to measure your frequency through divination, the traditional methods didn't just fail. They produced results that suggested you're oscillating between multiple frequencies simultaneously. This multi-frequent existence explains why you've been experiencing time differently lately. Hours disappear without explanation. Minutes stretch into what feels like days. You look at the clock certain that hours have passed only to find it's been minutes, or vice versa. You're not losing time or gaining it. You're experiencing it non-linearly, because your consciousness is operating at frequencies that don't align with standard temporal flow. This is why your dreams have been so vivid and meaningful. In dream state, you naturally shift to frequencies where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. The frequency shift is also why certain people can't stay in your life anymore. Every relationship, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, requires a certain frequency compatibility. As your frequency changes, relationships that were once harmonious become discordant. It's not that these people are bad or that you've become better than them. It's simply that your frequencies no longer align enough to maintain stable connection. This is why some relationships have ended abruptly without clear explanation. The frequency gap became too wide to bridge. But here's what the broken chain revealed that shocked even the Babalawo. Your frequency isn't just shifting, it's teaching other frequencies how to shift. You're becoming what the ancient texts call a frequency catalyst. When people spend time around you, their own frequency begins to adjust, usually without them realizing it. This is why some people feel uncomfortable around you. Their frequency is being challenged to change, and change is always uncomfortable initially. Others feel energized around you because their frequency was ready to shift, and you're providing the resonance they needed. The moment the Babalawo's chain snapped wasn't random. It was timed precisely, with an activation that's been building in your system for years, possibly decades. Every challenge you've faced, every loss you've endured, every moment of joy and sorrow has been preparing your spiritual circuitry for this activation. The chain broke because it recognized that the activation had reached critical mass, the point where the old you can no longer exist, and the new you must emerge. You felt this activation in your body. Those random pains that doctors can't explain. The heat that rises through your spine at unexpected moments. The tingling in your hands and feet. The pressure in your forehead that feels like something trying to push through from the inside. The way your heart sometimes beats in patterns that feel like Morse code from another dimension. These aren't medical conditions. They're symptoms of your spiritual DNA coming online, of dormant codes in your essence finally receiving the signal to activate. The activation is changing how you process information. You're beginning to know things without learning them. Phone numbers appear in your mind before someone calls. You sense what people are going to say before they speak. You understand complex concepts instantly that would normally take years to master. Books fall open to exactly the page you need to read. Videos start playing at exactly the moment that contains the information you're seeking. Your consciousness is learning to access what the Babalawo calls the universal library, the dimension where all knowledge exists simultaneously. This activation isn't happening to everyone, and it's not happening randomly to those it is affecting. The broken chain revealed that you were selected for this activation before you were born, possibly before your parents were born. It's written into the very structure of your soul, a time-release program that would activate when humanity reached a certain point of crisis and evolution simultaneously. The fact that you're experiencing it now means we've reached that point, and you're one of the people encoded to help navigate what comes next. In the ancient texts the Babalawo consulted, after his chain broke, there's a prophecy that speaks of individuals whose very existence would cause traditional spiritual tools to fail. These people were called the bridge walkers, because they would exist simultaneously in multiple realities, bridging the gap between the world that was and the world that's becoming. The prophecy said they would be recognized by the chaos they cause in divination systems, by the way sacred objects would break or behave abnormally in their presence. Prophecy describes symptoms that might sound familiar to you. The bridge walkers would experience severe isolation before their activation, feeling like they didn't belong anywhere or with anyone. They would have unusual relationships with death, either through near-death experiences, the loss of significant people, or an unusual comfort with mortality that others find unsettling. They would see patterns where others see chaos. They would hear music in silence. They would feel the emotions of people they've never met. They would dream of places that don't exist in this reality, but feel more real than their waking life. According to the prophecy, the bridge walkers would emerge during a time of great upheaval, when the old structures of society, spirituality, and consciousness itself would be breaking down. Sound familiar? The prophecy says these individuals wouldn't be saviors or leaders in the traditional sense. Instead, they would be living portals through which new possibilities could enter this reality. Their very existence would create ripples that change probability fields, making impossible things possible and inevitable things avoidable. The Babalawo found your spiritual signature in these ancient prophecies, written in languages that predate modern civilization. Your name wasn't there, of course, but the energy pattern was unmistakable. The same pattern that scattered his divination beads, the same pattern that's been appearing in your dreams, the same pattern you might have been doodling unconsciously, drawing symbols you don't remember learning. You're not just reading about prophecy, you're living it, embodying it, becoming it with every breath you take. Since the chain snapped, the Babalawo has observed something he's never seen before. The divination tools aren't just responding to your current reality. They're picking up signals from parallel dimensions where other versions of you exist. This dimensional bleed is why you've been experiencing what feels like multiple lives simultaneously. Those random moments where you suddenly have memories that don't belong to this life, skills that come from nowhere, fears of things that haven't happened to you, at least not in this dimension. The dimensional bleed explains why certain decisions feel impossibly important, as if the fate of multiple worlds hangs in the balance, because for you, they do. When you make a choice, it doesn't just affect this version of you. It creates ripples across dimensions, affecting parallel versions of yourself. This is why some decisions have felt surprisingly easy, while others, seemingly simple ones, have caused you inexplicable anxiety. Your higher consciousness knows which choices affect multiple dimensions and which only affect this one. You might have noticed reality becoming negotiable around you. Things that should be fixed and certain become fluid when you're involved. Rules that apply to everyone else seem to bend around you, not because you're trying to break them, but because your multidimensional presence creates loopholes in the fabric of reality. Documents appear when you need them, doors open that should be locked. People forget policies that would normally be enforced. Technology does things it shouldn't be able to do. These aren't miracles, they're symptoms of dimensional bleed. The Babalawo's broken chain revealed that this dimensional bleed is increasing. The boundaries between your parallel selves are becoming thinner. This is why your dreams have been so vivid and meaningful lately. In dream state, you're not just processing this reality, you're attending councils with your parallel selves, sharing information, coordinating actions across dimensions. You might not remember these meetings consciously, but you wake up with new knowledge, new perspectives, new solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. Your energy signature has become so unique that it's creating its own category of existence. The Babalawo described it as trying to classify a color that doesn't exist in the visible spectrum, but that everyone can somehow sense. Traditional spiritual practices have no framework for what you're becoming, because you're not evolving within the existing system. You're creating a new system by your very existence. This unique energy signature is why people react to you so strongly, even through screens, even through text, even when they've never met you in person. Your energy travels through any medium, any distance, any barrier. Someone could read something you wrote years ago and feel the impact as if you were standing right next to them. Your voice carries frequencies that activate dormant codes in other people's consciousness. Your presence, even virtual presence, triggers spiritual awakening in others, whether they're ready or not. The energy signature is also attracting non-human consciousness. The Babalawo saw this clearly in the pattern of the broken chain. Beings from other dimensions, other planets, other states of existence are aware of you. Some are trying to communicate, others are simply observing. The strange lights you might have seen in your peripheral vision, the sensations of being watched when you're alone, the whispers that seem to come from nowhere. These aren't hallucinations or paranoia. You're becoming visible to forms of consciousness that most humans can't perceive. Your signature is so powerful now that it's creating what the Babalawo calls spiritual weather patterns around you. Emotional storms clear when you arrive, tense situations calm in your presence. Or sometimes the opposite happens and hidden tensions surface because your energy won't allow false peace to persist. You're becoming a walking truth field where deception becomes impossible, where masks fall away, where people can't help but reveal their true selves. All timelines are converging on a singular point, and according to the broken chain's message, you're standing at that point. This doesn't mean you're the center of the universe or that everything revolves around you. It means you're positioned at a crucial junction where multiple possible futures meet, and your choices will determine which timeline becomes dominant, not just for you, but for everyone connected to you, and that connection extends further than you might imagine. The convergence explains why everything feels accelerated right now. Years' worth of karma is resolving in weeks. Patterns that took lifetimes to establish are breaking overnight. People from your past are reappearing with perfect timing. Opportunities that should take years to manifest are appearing immediately. You're not living in normal time anymore. You're living in convergence time, where everything happens simultaneously, where cause and effect become negotiable, where the future influences the past as much as the past influences the future. This timeline convergence is why your intuition has become so accurate it's almost precognitive. You're not predicting the future, you're sensing which timeline is becoming dominant based on current energy patterns. When you get a strong feeling about something, you're detecting the probability waves collapsing into actuality. This is why it's crucial that you trust these feelings now more than ever, even when they don't make logical sense, especially when they don't make logical sense. The Babalawo saw something in the broken chain pattern that he had to verify 7 times before he would believe it. The convergence isn't just bringing timelines together, it's bringing different versions of Earth together. The Mandela effects people talk about, the collective memories that don't match recorded history, the feeling that reality has shifted. These aren't mass delusion. They're symptoms of multiple Earth timelines merging. And you're one of the people who can navigate this merge consciously rather than being swept along by it. With the snapping of the chain came a message about responsibility that the Babalawo struggled to convey. You're not responsible for saving anyone or fixing the world or becoming some kind of spiritual leader. Your responsibility is far more subtle and far more powerful. You're responsible for maintaining your frequency despite the chaos around you. You're responsible for embodying the new possibility rather than preaching about it. You're responsible for being the bridge that others can cross when they're ready. This responsibility might feel overwhelming, but here's what the broken chain revealed. You've been training for this your entire life. Every challenge you faced was preparation. Every loss taught you detachment. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every moment of joy taught you what's worth preserving. Every moment of pain taught you what needs to be transformed. You haven't been living a random life. You've been attending a mystery school disguised as ordinary existence. The responsibility includes something the Babalawo call the sacred no. You'll need to say no to things that previously seemed important. No to relationships that drain your energy. No to opportunities that look golden but feel heavy. No to helping people who aren't ready to help themselves. No to playing small to make others comfortable. No to dimming your light to fit in. These aren't selfish no's, they're sacred no's that preserve your energy for the work only you can do. But there's also the sacred yes. Yes to the impossible. Yes to the miraculous. Yes to connections that transcend logic. Yes to opportunities that terrify and exhilarate you simultaneously. Yes to being seen in your full power. Yes to trusting the process, even when you can't see the destination. Yes to becoming everything you've sensed you could be but were too afraid to embody. The broken chain was essentially the universe asking you a question, and your life moving forward is your answer. Once you answer the question, the process answers in some very similar way. The universe was rooted in the work of the masters of. When the Babalawo finally gathered all the scattered beads and broken chain pieces, he noticed something that changed everything. The break wasn't random. It had occurred at a specific link that contained a hidden compartment, something that had been sealed for generations. Inside was a single object, a small piece of metal with symbols that shouldn't exist, that hurt to look at directly. This object, according to the most ancient texts, was placed there waiting for the chain to break, when the right person's energy triggered it. It was a key, but not to any physical lock. It was a key to dimensional doorways that are about to open. The fact that your energy caused the chain to break at exactly this link means you're one of the key holders. You don't need to physically possess the key. Your energy signature itself has become the key. The Babalawo's final message was this. The chain breaking wasn't a disruption of divination. It was the most accurate divination possible. It was the universe saying that your path can no longer be predicted by traditional means, because you're creating a path that's never existed before. You're not following a destiny, you're writing one. You're not discovering your purpose, you're inventing it. You're not becoming who you're supposed to be, you're becoming someone who's never existed before. As you integrate this information, remember that the breaking of the chain was celebrated in the spiritual realms. It was a graduation, a cosmic announcement that you've outgrown the need for traditional spiritual guidance because you've become your own oracle. The answers you seek aren't in any book, any teaching, any external source. They're encoded in your DNA, in your dreams, in the seemingly random thoughts that float through your consciousness. Trust them. Trust yourself. Trust the process that's unfolding even when it makes no sense. As this transmission comes to a close, you might feel a shift happening within you. The words have been activating dormant codes in your consciousness, not because of their meaning, but because of the frequency they carry. The Babalawo knew this would happen. The broken chain predicted it. Your energy called forth this exact message at this exact moment, because you're ready to receive it. Don't try to make sense of everything immediately. Let it percolate through your consciousness like water finding its way through stone. Some of it will activate immediately. Some will activate weeks or months from now when you need it most. Some is for parts of you that haven't fully emerged yet. The integration process isn't something you do, it's something you allow. You might experience unusual phenomena in the coming days. Synchronicities will accelerate, dreams will become more vivid and meaningful, people will appear with perfect timing, solutions will present themselves to problems you haven't even articulated yet. This isn't the universe rewarding you or testing you, this is the universe responding to your new frequency, rearranging itself around your upgraded energy signature. Remember, the chain didn't break because you're broken. It broke because you've become too powerful for old containers. The Babalawa sends you this message. Walk gently, but walk boldly. The path you're creating with each step has never been walked before. There's no map because you're drawing the map. There's no guide because you've become the guide. There's no destination because you're creating it as you go. The chain is broken. You are free. Now become everything that freedom allows.